Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the It's Just Dinner podcast. I'm your host, Tom Robinson, and sitting alongside of me, as always, Bob Walz.
Tom, it's great to be here. Dr. Robinson, great to be here in the house with you.
Thank you so much. It's
always
been
a treat. Always.
And I just want to say on our engineering board,
yes,
is Lauren. Do you want to say hi, Lauren?
Hi.
There she is.
And this is amazing. Lauren has brought in some new technology here that we were not aware of.
We're not aware of, and we're actually on camera.
We are.
Which is
and three cameras. Cool. We've got a 3-camera shoot going on in here.
So she's going to bounce us around and make us look good.
And we've got some new lighting in here, and I think it's, look at the logo we've got behind us. We are uptown.
This is serious stuff now.
This has gone from just joking around to being a big deal.
To being a big deal.
Yeah.
And why the reason why is we want these guys to go date. We want you to go have fun.
That's exactly the reason. That's why we go to all this expense and trouble to bring in this equipment. It's all about you.
Just to convince you to have fun.
Yes.
Quit worrying about getting married, for crying out loud.
Oh, there you go.
For crying out loud, that's kind of an old guy.
That is for crying out loud. For crying in the night. Isn't that what your grandmother used to say?
Yes, she used to say that.
And that was our grandmother's. So.
Hey, so today I thought we'd do something kind of fun. A lot of times I get asked about, we call this It's Just Dinner, and they always say, well, why do you call it It's Just Dinner?
Yeah.
Can it be more than that?
Too,
yeah. And I said, well, of course it can be more than that, because what's important is not the dinner part of this.
No.
It's just going out and doing something. Right. And, of course, the conversation, talking is the most important thing.
Sure, it is.
And so what I did was I had a couple of students in my office, and we came up with a list of things that you could substitute for dinner.
In case we wanted to change the name of the podcast.
If we ever wanted to.
We wanted to adjust our branding. Okay, so
we could do this. So what I want to do is go through this list and then talk about these and just think, you guys that are listening, think, okay, well, I could do that. Right. I could ask a guy or I could ask a girl to just go do this with me, and we could talk. And
so it doesn't have to. And I know some people I've talked to some people, and they say, I can't afford to go out to dinner that frequently. And I say, well, you're not understanding the concept. So I think, Tom, what this is going to do is it's going to help people understand the concept better.
That's what I'm hoping.
Well, let's help.
Should we give it a try?
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, the first two are really easy.
Okay.
So the first one is it's just lunch.
Oh, there you go. There is actually a national program called It's Just Lunch.
I don't want to promote them, though.
Well, okay, let's not talk about them. Don't go there, kids.
But lunch is
Stay
easy,
away from
right?
that. Right.
Because you're over at the Wilk, or you're near some place, you can just say, hey, let's go grab a Chick-fil-A. And
lunch is typically less expensive than dinner.
Yeah.
And you don't usually have to leave a tip.
So right.
So having just lunch, and that does fit in better. And the thing is, it could be just eating your brown bag.
That's right.
Is brown bag? Is that an old term? Is that like up in the night? Yeah, just eating your lunch that you brought from home together with someone, because you accomplished the same thing.
Right. How about this one? How about it's just breakfast?
Oh, well, yeah, that's some people don't eat breakfast, but
they
that
don't.
Would be.
They don't.
And so, it could theoretically it could be that, but I just don't know how many times you'd come to someone and say, hey, would you like to come over for breakfast?
Well, what I thought was if a young lady called a boy up and they said, hey, do you want to go get some breakfast? Let's go over to Kneaders and get all-you-can-eat French toast. About the time you got toast out of your mouth, the boy would be standing by your car.
Yeah, he would. He'd say yes. And seeing that, or, the problem is that most college students, it's just breakfast means Lucky Charms.
That's
or
that might be fun too.
So that's just a very casual meal.
It is.
But see, it's a good idea, because if you do end up having a longer relationship, you want to see what their breakfast habits are to make sure. Do they like Lucky Charms? Do they like Count Chocula? If they like Captain Crunch, that says a lot about a person.
That's true.
And in fact, that would be a good question to ask them, no matter what you do, or what are your choices in breakfast cereals.
It's an easy one to answer.
If it's one of those multi-grain ones, you might want to rethink this whole thing.
Rethink the whole thing. Yeah. How about this? Now, it's good for this time of year. How about it's just hot chocolate?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's inexpensive. And it ties in with our culture, because we are hot chocolate consumers. Even though it is a hot beverage, we are hot chocolate consumers. So, and inexpensive, I guess outside of this, we'd say, let's get together for a cup of coffee.
Right.
People do that, but we can't really do that.
Hot chocolate's much better.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Better for you.
Here's one that I talk about in my presentation, but how about it's just a walk?
Oh, yeah.
So just get together and go for a walk.
Well, and seeing that's pretty simple here in our culture too, because for the most part, we walk to things like church.
That was actually my next one.
It's just church?
It's just a walk to church.
Well, there you go. Because you could easily say, hey, I don't know you very well, and I wanted to get to know you. Do you mind if we walk to church together?
Very simple.
And so there's no commitment there other than
going to church.
I would like to get to know you better, and we're headed to the same place. And then also, if it doesn't go well, there's an easy end.
There's an easy end to it at church.
Well, it's great to be here at church. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, and I like the idea of a walk because that you talk while you're walking.
Yeah.
And like we said, the whole thing is for young men and young women to get to know each other better and to talk.
Well, to your point, you can't really get to know people until you're able to engage in casual conversation.
Right.
And a lot of times we have impediments to do that. If you go to a concert or if you go to a sporting event, it sometimes is difficult to engage in conversation because there's other noise going on that impedes your ability to communicate. And so
a walk is not that way.
Yeah, a walk is not that way. Right. You have plenty of time to talk and really get to know somebody, but more importantly, it's an opportunity to listen.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the things that
we talked about that in a former podcast.
We have. And it's so key because when you're in that situation, and I know this because my wife loves to walk, and it gives me an opportunity to practice my listening skills.
Yeah.
And it's actually really good because she feels empowered when I listen to her.
Right.
And I think that most people are that way, men and women. We like to be around somebody who listens to us and shows interest in what we're talking about.
I agree. Now, the next one I have is kind of on the same line, but it's a walk through the MOA, the Museum of Art here on campus.
Yeah.
Which I think is just fascinating. Beautiful artwork, but then there's a lot of talking.
Yeah. Well, you can talk and engage about what you're looking at and what your impressions of them are. It's just you got to be really careful because if you come in and say, wow, this one really stinks, and then you find out, well, yeah, I painted that.
so got to be careful on who you're going to the MOA with. So.
You got to just be really neutral on stuff. Well, you like this one? Yeah, I painted that one. Oh, okay, it's great.
Now, the next three are kind of related. So I'm just going to go through all three of them, then we'll talk.
Okay.
So it's just ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a swig.
Right.
Or a So Delicious. And it's just a crumble.
Oh, yeah.
So that's all it has to do with eating or drinking.
And it's interesting that all of those are very Provo-centric.
And cheap.
And inexpensive and cheap, but those are, very popular items here that most people are going to say yes to.
Right. They're very low key.
Right.
Not a lot of commitment involved with it.
You're not expending a lot of money on something like that. And it's an activity that's going to take time. And it's something that whether a girl is inviting a boy or a boy is inviting a girl, it's not a lot of time invested to go down and get a drink at So Delicious or Swig. But it is giving you an opportunity to talk with them and get to know them better.
Yeah. And I just like the idea that it's really inexpensive. So you don't have to pay for a big dinner.
Right.
It's just a dish of ice cream, or a drink. So I thought that was a really good idea.
I think it's a great, and I think we should go out and get them as our
we should after we get done here. And so, we're looking for sponsors.
So if you're listening, we can either promote Swig or we can promote So Delicious. It's up to you.
How about this one? This might be interesting. And it's just the grocery store.
Oh. It's interesting on the number of people in many cultures that meet people at grocery stores.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, it's a very good place to meet people because you're generally not all dressed up. You're not nervous. You're comfortable. You're relaxed.
Right.
And so when you run into people, it's easy to have casual conversation, which is generally the best way to get to know people.
Right. I had a student one time tell me that she was coming out of her apartment and another guy came out of his apartment from her ward, and she said, I really didn't know him very well. And he said, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. You want to come with me? She said, well, yeah, I kind of need groceries too. So she said, yeah. And she said, we spent an hour walking through the grocery store, shopping, and just laughing and talking the whole entire time.
Well, see, there's so many important things to that because, I think of my 42 years of marriage that I'm bringing into this. How much time do my wife and I spend at the grocery store? A lot. If there's one place that we went to more than anything else, it would be the grocery store.
Right.
Yeah, and so that's
well, and everybody goes.
Yeah, everyone has to go buy food at some point.
Again, very low key as well.
Yeah.
Lauren, what do you think about going to the grocery store with a guy?
I've actually done that before.
How did that turn out for you?
I mean, nothing ended up coming from it, but I ended up having a good time.
There you go.
That's all that came from it.
But that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it's just the grocery store. How would we like that as a podcast? Kids, why don't you call in and vote?
Do you like the grocery store or not?
It's just the grocery store.
Yeah. Well, hey, how about this one? It's right along the same lines. It's just Costco.
Oh. Yeah.
Costco's bigger, a lot more things to look at.
See, here's the deal.
Free samples.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking, is you could free sample the heck out of it.
That's actually a date I do take my wife on, because if I take her over there on a Friday night, we eat enough of the free samples that I don't have to buy dinner, The
only problem is just coming out spending $100.
Yeah, well, it's kind of.
But I was thinking on it's just dinner kind of thing, you could just go to Costco and just walk around and talk and goof around over there and be really low key and
play hide and seek.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Or you could do like we had a guest on talked about a scavenger hunt. You could certainly do that at the Costco.
Well, both of these, Costco and the grocery store, it's interesting because food choices are very unique, and a lot of times you get to know people based on the food choices that they have, and see if they're compatible with your food choices.
Right.
And so, that's another way that you can make a connection with people, is that if you tend to like the same foods,
that's true.
You're probably going to have a stronger relationship.
That's true.
And so if they're really into the sugary drinks, or if they're a vegan, or if they're on the Atkins diet, it would probably be good to know that earlier.
That's true.
So that you can, because it's an area of compatibility.
All right, the next one I have is, and one of my students came up with this one, is visiting a local bookstore.
What a bookstore? What is that?
Just,
have you ever been to a
Yeah, I actually went last week to
Get
a
out.
bookstore.
So do they still have bookstores?
There is one downtown Provo.
Really?
Yeah, there's also one.
Barnes and Noble.
Well, the one I went to was not. It wasn't exactly like a bookstore. It was like a, I don't want to say like history, but it was like it's owned by a collector.
Oh.
And so it was like a bunch of old things, but like there were stores nearby and things that like we went window shopping.
There you go.
Essentially.
There you go.
Well, it's it used to be that was more popular, and that you would meet people at something called a library. Tom, you've probably heard.
I've heard of the library.
Lauren, a library.
What's that?
Is a repository of books that, if before they were all online, that you would actually go there and you would check out a book and
take
read
it home.
And take it home. You could take it home for like a week, and then you had to bring it back, of course. But
so I thought that would be kind of fun, just to walk around and look at books and talk. Again, talk. That's what's kind of fun about it.
Well, the only problem with that, if I were young and I asked a girl, hey, do you want to go out? It's just the bookstore. She'd expect us to go to the Amazon place over in Lehigh, because that's where everybody gets there. And
that's all they get books from.
Yes.
Well, I thought that might be fun. Here's another one that might be interesting, and I think this happens more in the summertime, but it's just the Saturdays market.
Oh.
And they have that down at Pioneer Park on Saturdays.
Yeah.
I thought that would be fun. I like going to different booths and things. I think that would be a real fun thing for kids to do.
Yeah. And they have in the fall, they have the harvest market.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of those that they have in Provo. Or I think they still do this, where they have one night a week, they have an area where all the food trucks come.
That's right.
And so that's kind of a nice day, too, because you can kind of go around and pick different food and see what different types of food are. Those food trucks, they all used to be in Southwest Provo that they would congregate.
But those kind of things are fun.
And not expensive.
Not expensive, and you can just walk around and look at the booths. And again, lots of opportunities to talk.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, I'm going to need your help on this one, because one of the girls told me this. She said the downtown Provo art stroll.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about that? I heard that there's actually a stroll you can go on, and you go to different places and you can look at the art on Center Street.
My students have told me about that. There's a lot of art studios in downtown Provo now.
And I guess they have a route that you can take.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I haven't heard of that, but I know that there's lots of stuff on Center Street. That, like, one date that I've been on is going to the soap making factory.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that was like super fun. because like you have something to do and like it's not expensive and
very cool.
It's personalized.
Who knew?
But
Who knew?
But it was just like upstairs in one of the buildings.
Wow,
you know?
very cool.
But they've got tons of artsy stuff like that.
Well, I thought that sounded really fun, and it's really easy to get someone to agree to do that with you and just stroll and look at art. Now, this is going to be one that I'm not quite sure about because we talked about this in my office the other day. It's just longboarding.
Oh.
There are a lot of people into that.
Yeah.
And I think that's great, but you just have to be careful because if you're knowledgeable of that and you're into it, it would be great. If you're not, that might not be a very fun
That might not
date.
be very fun.
Yeah.
But what they told me was there's a lot of talking that goes on while you're doing it, and it's a really fun thing to do.
Have you ever gone longboarding?
I have not.
My kids all ended up, when they were teenagers, having longboards, and they loved it. And they would come down. The only time that I see them is when I'm riding my bike up that path up Provo Canyon, and the people on longboards are like flying down.
You see them on campus too a little bit. So, Lauren, you ever been longboarding?
I used to do some growing up because I have brothers. So
is that a good date? Not date. Is that a good way to get to know someone?
I feel like if you're both like into it, then for sure. But if you're not, then it's kind of
if you're into it, then you should find someone else that is and just go longboarding with them.
Exactly.
I'm going to propose this. It might be better as a second date.
That's true.
Once you've gotten to know someone and identify their common interests that you have.
Or if you look around and you see someone that's doing it, ask them to go with you.
Yes, that's an idea.
Yeah.
That's an idea.
Okay, this one's pretty easy now, and I think everyone can do this. It's just a board game.
Yeah.
That's pretty free.
Yeah.
So you could ask him over to your house and just play Yahtzee
and a lot of times you can do that in a group of people, which even makes it easier because then the conversation doesn't lag because you've got more people to contribute.
But there's a lot of two-person games that you can play. So I thought that one's kind of fun. And there is a place right down Provo where they have board games set up. Is that right, Lauren?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lauren, what is your favorite board game?
My favorite board game, I don't know. This isn't exactly a board game, but I played a game the other day that I think is called Red Flags. And so it's kind of like apples to apples, but you put down, like, everybody puts down a card that has like a good quality, like, oh, they're a millionaire, or they're a model, or they're a heart surgeon, or whatever. And then everybody has to put down a red flag. And so it's like, well, they may have like this great quality, but they always smell, or they're a serial killer, or, and so then the person whose turn it is has to pick.
So in that way, it's like apples and apples.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh, that's fun.
Well, I think that would be fun. My wife and I play a lot of two-person games, so I think that would be one. Here's one that I do a lot, is people watching. Mm-hmm. It's just people watching.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of places you could do that.
Oh, yeah.
You can do it.
Inexpensive.
Very free, very fun. My daughter and I used to do it, and we would we would pretend that we were the person and have a conversation, like the conversation they were having as they walked by. So you could have a lot of fun doing that.
It's the way you pitch it. You could say, hey, how would you like to come with me and we could do some stalking?
Yeah, we could do that. And I think there's a lot of fun places that you could go to do that.
Yeah.
This is a really easy one. We've talked about going to the park, but it's just a playground. Mm-hmm. And I guess there's some really cool ones around in town here.
Well, I take to my grandkids to all of them. There's the one with the big rocket ship, and then there's, you've got a Rock Canyon Park that's got all those big steep hills and grass, and there are a lot of really nice parks around. Bicentennial Park, the Pioneer Park where they've got that replica of the Pioneer Cabin.
Right.
So there are a lot of really fun parks that we have around in the city.
And they all have, like, my favorite is swings, right? And so you could go swing and play on the park. And then again, lots of talking, right?
Yeah.
So I like that one. This is one that the girls came and mentioned to me was making dinner. So it's just making dinner.
Yeah.
And so.
Well, see, I like that if I'm a guy, because that means I'm not going to have to pay, and I'm going to eat for free.
Well, but a boy could ask a young woman to come over, and he'd make a meal with her.
That would be
fun.
impressive, as long as you don't feed her typical missionary food. You don't want pasta with cream of mushroom sauce and hot dogs in it.
Ugh.
Now, Lauren,
That's a typical
have you been
missionary
invited
meal,
to
just
make
so
a
you know.
meal with a guy?
I made a meal with someone. Yeah.
Was it fun?
It was fun.
Yeah. See, I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Especially for some of these guys that don't know how to cook, they could.
Well, and it doesn't have to
Get
be a
some-
full meal either. It's like just make cookies
Or
or
dessert. I think
or
I have.
just-
How about I have baking cookies on my list?
Yeah.
It's just baking cookies.
It's just baking cookies. And that's just, buy one of those tubes of
Yeah.
Pillsbury cookie dough. Then I also put down here, it's just making dessert.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that'd be really
super
fun.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a friend who they did like a double date this last week, and they made pretzels.
Wow, that's
It
too
was so
advanced for
cool,
me.
but it wasn't hard. Like we ended
get a
up making
pretzel
them
dough.
again the next day, and it was like super simple.
Yeah.
But like tons of time to talk.
I was going to say, what do you do when they're in the oven? Talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yes.
This is another one, and we haven't had much opportunity, but it's just sledding.
Yeah.
Well, you can go right over to Rock Canyon Park.
Probably less popular in the summer months, but
We can go ice blocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's ice blocking is one of those things that sounds funner than it is. When you do it, you're kind of like, man, that was stupid. But yeah, sledding. We've got a lot of parks around here. Rock Canyon Park again after a fresh snow. This place is packed. It's like a ski resort.
Right.
And
But that'd be a really easy thing
Yeah.
to do. Just ask, hey, I'm going sledding. You want to come with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, really simple.
Yeah.
All right, I got a couple of BYU things here. It's like it's just a basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really simple thing to ask someone to go with you.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, I'll tell you right now, ask the guys to go to a basketball game with you.
Well, especially if you've got tickets down low, lower bowl.
Yeah, they'd love that.
Yeah.
So, but again, you can sit and talk. It's a little more active, not quite as active as a football game. So, but here's one that I love to do, and I'll tell you why after I tell you what it is. It's just a baseball game.
Mm.
Now I'll tell you why I like baseball games, because they're so slow.
They are.
And you buy a hot dog and you sit, and it's just a great way to talk and get to know each other. Because you can talk about everything at a baseball game.
Well, you have to, because
And then there are moments of just pure thrill and excitement.
Yeah.
So and the BYU games are rather inexpensive, and you could go and sit and talk and have a great time at the baseball game.
But when my wife and I were first married, she drugged me to a triple header baseball. My wife is a sports fanatic.
Is. Yes.
We went to a triple header baseball game for the WAC championship. Luckily, BYU won in 2 games.
So you didn't have to sit through the third
So I
one.
didn't have to sit through the third game.
That's exciting.
Well, after the second game, you kind of run out of things to talk about,
Yeah,
even
that's
when
true.
it's your wife.
But I think that's one of those things that couples should think about doing just for fun.
Yeah.
Is just go and sit and talk. All right, here's a couple of things that are active. And Lauren, you'll have to pipe in on these. It's just racquetball.
Mm-hmm. You know what I found? Maybe you have this one on there. I did a survey of my students in one of my classes, and the number of students who like pickleball.
That is my very next one.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, see, pickleball has kind of taken over the sport of choice.
Yes, it has.
For many, many people.
Fastest growing sport in the United States.
Yeah.
But I think, Lauren, you ever done that? Pickleball, racquetball?
Not on
a date?
No.
Well, see, it's just kind of a thing where you can say, hey, let's go over and do it, or I'm going to go do it. You want to come with me? And it's free here at BYU.
Yeah.
You can find pickleball courts at different places. So I think it'd be super fun. It'd be a super fun activity
and
to do.
pickleball is very user-friendly. Even if you've never played before,
Right.
you can feel like you're somewhat good at it.
Right.
Racquetball's a little bit more technical.
I like both of those, and both of them free, easy to do, and you can have a lot of fun laughing and talking, messing around. So it's just super fun activity. How about this one? This is going to a thrift store, so it's just a thrift store.
Oh yeah,
it's just DI.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that would be super
Yeah.
fun. I like to stroll through every once in a while and just look for treasures.
Yeah, I do too.
And so I think that you could run to Savers and the two of you walk around and just look for treasures.
Yeah. Inexpensive date. You get a whole new wardrobe for $8.99.
So that'd be fun. I just think that would be a great time. Lauren, would you be into that one?
As long as I liked the person. I've been on dates where we go to the DI and I'm just like, this was not a good idea.
Well, I'll scratch that one off my list. So I thought that would be fun. Yeah. We talked about this one, and this was just going on the Wilk scavenger hunt. That was one of our past podcasts.
Yeah, easy, simple to do. Yeah, that was an interesting idea she had.
It was a great idea.
You have two couples, and the first you go around independently, and you take pictures of yourself in random places on the Wilk. Then you trade phones, and the other couple has to find all the places that you went and get a picture next to them. So a really clever idea, really fun, easy, cheap, forces you to have conversation.
And laughing.
And talking. Yeah, hopefully laughing.
So I just thought that was, if you haven't heard that podcast, go back and listen to it. It was just fantastic and really a fun idea for you guys to do. This are a couple that are also in the Wilk. They have ping pong tables there.
Yeah.
And that would be a pretty fun one to do.
And bowling.
And bowling.
Bowling just sticks in there, doesn't it?
Bowling's a little more expensive, but it's simple.
It is.
And I think if you were taking a bowling class and you said, hey, I've got to study for my final, would you come study with me at the bowling alley? I think that'd be kind of slick.
That would be kind of tricky, wouldn't it? Yeah.
They also have pool tables there at the Wilk. And you could go and play pool. It's very simple. Yeah. And again, while you're doing that, lots of time to talk and goof around and have fun. The last one, and I'm not sure that I'm totally into this one, but it's to go to the BYU, go to the theater. The problem with it is you're not talking.
The theater, as in a play?
Or even the symphony. A lot of classes have you required to go to those things, so you could ask someone to go with you. Now, I put a note on this one. I said it's a great idea if you walk to it.
Yeah.
So that means you'd have to walk from your apartment.
You know, I remember looking back at first-time dates. Sometimes I did like going to the movies because you weren't sure how the conversation was going to go. And so it was nice to be able to have the movie that could kind of take up the spaces where you couldn't think of anything. and so it might be the same with going to a play or to the theater, that you would have conversation on the way there. But while you're there, you can always just concentrate on the play.
Right. But you have a ton to talk about on the way home.
Yeah.
So now, Lauren, what is the film festival they have at the end? First Take or?
Yeah, they have one. I honestly don't know too much about it.
Somebody's going to get mad that I can't remember the name of it,
but
it's the film students that they have their final projects.
Yeah, I think it's Final
Cut.
Final Cut.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think that would be fun to do as well.
Well, and like even besides those, because those are like specific ones, but like going like in the library on the 4th floor, they have little theaters that you can go to, and you can say, hey, like, you want to go see a movie, like, and you could choose one out at the library together.
Great idea. I know they have a foreign film festival.
The library has a foreign film festival, and they also have a documentary festival.
Yeah.
And those are all free.
You have to be real careful with those because of the talking thing, but it would be lots of fun. And I think if you walked to there, you watched it or participated in it, then you walked home, I would love that.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all on my list. We went through 34 things.
I think that,
is there anything I forgot?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure
Say
there's
it again.
some.
Karaoke.
That would be scary.
Karaoke.
It could be, but I guess it depends on how you know the person.
That's true.
You know, because if it's like a first interaction,
well, this is just dinner. It's
right. If it's like a first interaction, maybe, probably not. But like if you've known this person for a while and you think they'd be down,
you maybe could
be so fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, and I think there's unlimited numbers that we could come up with on this. But really what it is at the end of the day, it's just having fun.
It's just having fun and talking.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to let all you guys know, is that it's a lot more than just dinner. It's all these things that we just mentioned. Most everything we mentioned is really inexpensive. Doesn't take much money. It doesn't take much planning. They're very simple. Yeah. They're very easy to do. And for the most part, they can last just an hour.
Right.
And you can go, you can talk, you can get to know each other, and you can have fun. And I love the idea that it gets you out of the apartment.
Right. So are we going to change the name of the? Because
we are
you've
not.
Already got the logo and everything.
Our logo is pretty much set in stone. We're not going to change it.
We're sticking with It's Just Dinner.
Yeah.
I like the name.
I just want everyone to know that it's a lot more than that.
Right.
And it can be so much more, and they can have so much fun doing all these other things.
It's just dinner and more.
Right.
See, we could just put a sting on there that says "and more."
So yeah, I should add "and more" on there. Well, that was fun. Thanks for talking about
yes.
that.
It was.
I did want to take care of a little bit of business here.
Okay.
We are trying to get our Instagram following up.
Right.
And I really want those of you that are listening, I want you to follow us on Instagram. And It's Just Dinner YSA for young single adults. So It's Just Dinner YSA on Instagram.
Right.
So please go to Instagram and follow us. We've got plans for a lot of giveaways, a lot of polls, a lot of contests that we're going to do through Instagram. So please go to that. We also are in the process of creating our TikTok page.
Oh, wow.
So we're at It's Just Dinner on TikTok. So I think that would be fun. We also have an email, and I would recommend anybody that has suggestions or ideas that things we might cover on the podcast, or if you have a great date story that you want to share, it's just dinner YSA@gmail.com.
Right.
So, by the way, you can replay all this and get all this information back. I know my social media manager has said, look, we need to have people hashtagging us on all their posts, all the things they're doing. So you can hashtag It's Just Dinner.
Right.
You can hashtag It's Just Dinner Podcast. That would be great because we get a lot more exposure for our podcast.
Could you hashtag It's Just the Grocery Store?
Well, you could. I don't know if but you'd have to hashtag It's Just Dinner with it. So
okay.
I also have, it's IJD Podcast. So It's Just Dinner, so IJD Podcast.
Wow.
So, and then if you guys are out listening to this podcast right now, please leave reviews. Be nice, but leave reviews, leave us your ideas, leave us your comments. That would be super fun.
Yeah. And if you think that we're really old, don't say that. Yeah. Because it's true. We already know we're really old, but don't tell us that.
But we're trying to be helpful.
We're delusional, and so don't tell us that we're old.
That's why I'm here.
That's why we've got Laura
That's why to bring the youth, and
she brings down.
She is our female youth vote there. So, well, thank you guys for participating today, and I hope you guys listening had a great time, and that you're thinking about this being a lot more than just going out to dinner. It's really just having a conversation and just having fun. So listen, just have fun out there, would you?